So, good morning, everyone. I am Nikki Dunn, and I'm the Research Officer with Family Carers Ireland. And I'm joined here today with Joe Bergen, who's one of the members of the Family Carers Ireland PPI network. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Joe Bergen. My background is in nursing. I've been nursing for over 20 years. I was a care assistant previous to that. I have two girls, aged 11 and 13, and I have a son who is 30 there last Monday. Unlike my two girls, he did not receive an official diagnosis, as it was a different time back then. It says my girls were diagnosed, and by going to different conferences with my husband and speaking with different professionals, that we became more aware and thought, oh my God, they're talking about my son, our son. So we realized that he has special needs also, which explained a lot regarding different issues that arose through his life. When I reflect back, then to now, yes, there are a lot of holes in the system that really needed to be addressed. However, my girls have a better quality of life in their younger years than my son had, unfortunately. So in retrospect, research has brought that change about awareness of autism. I'm keen also to bring some of my experience of being a carer to future research projects.
Thanks, Joe. So, in terms of what we're going to talk about today, so we're going to talk about this newly established family carer public and patient involvement network, which Joe is part of. And it's in its very early stages. We just had our first meeting in July and our second meeting in August. And we're still kind of finalising some of the documentation that's coming from that and how we want the group to work. But just in terms of what we're going to talk about today, so we're going to talk about what the group is, why we set it up, some of the process of setting it up, and the governance of the network as well. So, Joe, maybe you could give the viewers a quick sense of who and what the group is.
I suppose to me, it is a role advisory group, providing a platform for the researcher to access carers that may wish to become involved. Our aim is to enable family carers to provide their expertise as a carer, to possibly engage with experienced researchers to work on ideas relevant to carers, to help them link through how best to engage carers in research. For me, I suppose being involved in this side of research is exciting, as it allows the researcher to get a glimpse of the person's life rather than it being textbook, and for this to shape the research. Rather than just being asked to participate when the research has already been designed. We will be working with researchers on different topics, ensuring the family care voice is included at the early stage of the research process. We haven't been involved in any PPI related activities yet, but hoping that we will as the months come in. There are currently 4 of us on the team. We all come from different walks of life, with challenges and a lot of experience to bring to the table. Different backgrounds. So we have myself, a nurse, an engineer, retired business teacher, and a supermarket worker. These all bring different strengths and understanding of care. So caring for parents, children, former carer, and caring for spouses. We have a common respect for each other, as we all know how hard it is to be acknowledged and listened to. We all have a common goal, and that's to help make changes going forward and see these changes eventually coming into play.
Fantastic, Joe. And can you say anything about that first meeting, like the induction or the training that, so maybe I should just say something that Aideen Mihai from UCD PPI Ignite facilitated the 2 kind of induction sessions which we've had so far. Do you want to say anything about that, Joe?
I suppose to me, um, we had two sessions. It gave us a lot of insightful knowledge about PPI and the research progress, because I didn't understand it prior to that. Aideen was exceptionally good at facilitating the meetings along with Nikki. I knew the basics of research prior to this, but not about PPI at all. And it was really helpful in understanding the difference between the actual involvement and participation. I'm still trying to wrap my head around a lot of it, and I guess I'll really start understanding it more when hopefully I get to be involved in research projects. But I do understand the principles of it. Training also happens over Zoom due to COVID.
And Joe, what did you make of the online training, like it not being face to face but being more online? Did you enjoy that, or did it make things easier for you for being online? Or
yeah, I think for me it made things easier, because sometimes I can become a little bit anxious when I'm with new people. I'd be afraid of making a mistake or something, and I just found that to do it online, you actually weren't physically with all these different people, and you didn't feel the pressure to either become involved in the questions, or you could become involved and not worry about, well, they're all going to be looking at you.
yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it, that online meetings can be a bit more accessible.
Mm.
I certainly think for carers, you've got massive kind of caring responsibilities. Some people caring 24/7, and especially during COVID, obviously as well, everything has moved to online.
Yeah.
Now I know we kind of did kind of say it would be really nice to meet up as a group now that we're kind of all getting to know each other. So hopefully we will meet face to face at some stage. But in many ways it is making things easier, kind of removing the travel aspect of it as well. Because I know one of the members of the group kind of lives in, we're all kind of geographically all over Ireland. So it would make it more difficult, I guess, like for an overnight stay for some people, like if they had to come up to me in the morning time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So there's benefits to doing it online, isn't there?
There is. It's kind of like you get to know the people that you're actually involved with. And I suppose by the time we do eventually get to meet up, it'd be kind of like, oh, well, I would be anticipating that we will kind of just connect automatically, because we have the background now.
Yeah. I think that thing of connection is quite important as well. That's kind of come up, the thing of community, that this is a community as well. Like,
Yeah.
that you're able to, you all have a common, like you said, a common goal as well. And you're all carers too.
I think as well, sometimes it helps to ground you when you hear somebody else's story, because sometimes you can become so involved in your own story that when you actually hear somebody else's story, you go, actually, do you know what? I don't have it as bad as I actually think I do. Sometimes you need to step outside to look back in. And I think when you connect with others that are going through the same thing or similar, it helps you to refocus and, think about things maybe in a different way.
Yeah, the value of peer support is really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just move on to maybe kind of talking about why Family Carers Ireland thought it was a good idea to set up the network. So there was a number of factors that came together which made the time inappropriate for us to start thinking about setting up a PPI panel. So we've been involved in research for a long time. I'm with the organisation about 18 months now, but even before I became involved, we've been acting as a facilitator of research and participatory research in multiple research projects spanning back years. And typically when we're approached with requests to advise on research or to sit on steering committees, kind of maybe some more of that PPI involvement role, we would usually always try to put forward a suitable family carer for the role. And that really kind of reflects our core values. Like family carers are at the heart of everything that we do. And it's always preferable for a family carer to go in with their lived experience. So it is something that we've been doing for a while, but I think it's it's been on a more ad hoc basis and not necessarily structured. So there hasn't been any mechanism for like training in PPI, how to be involved in research. And there hasn't been any process for bringing some of that learning back into the organization as well. So I think, yeah, just kind of formalizing the PPI within our organization is important for that. So yeah, when I joined Family Carers Ireland last March, we'd already been part of the UCD Ignite Executive Committee for some time. And then we'd also started to see an increase in requests for PPI support for grant applications. So yeah, these were some of the reasons for actually starting to set up a panel within Ireland, or within Family Carers Ireland. And it was something that I was planning for earlier in the year, and then COVID hit, and a lot of the people who'd kind of said that they might be interested in being involved just didn't have the time then to, with the blanket withdrawal of supports and services, it became more difficult to take a couple of hours out to do training, and I wasn't really sure whether to just kind of put it on hold. And then I had a chat with Avril Keenan from the HRCI, and she kind of encouraged me to just go for it and start small and go from there. And then Aideen Hay also agreed to facilitate. And then just in terms of the training, so we actually really we used the HRCI toolkit for PPI training, and that was incredibly helpful. And we were really fortunate to have something like that to guide us. Especially as it also included some ideas for doing training remotely as well. And during the chats that I had with Aideen kind of in the run up to the meeting, to the first meeting, we kind of pulled out some of the important things that we wanted from those early sessions. And first of all, and like you said, Joe, we really wanted there to be an understanding of what PPI is and how it might differ from participation, for example. And secondly, and I think this kind of touches on what you were saying about your comfort with the other members now, we knew the importance of relationships in this whole thing as well. And I think Aideen was really fantastic at making everyone feel at ease. There was lots of room for asking questions. So I think really even though we're only at the early stages of this group, like the relationship and the kind of trust and respect that we have for one another is kind of really, really important, and kind of getting that sense of community there as well. So that relationship kind of thing has been really important. And thirdly, we really wanted to come out of the 2 sessions with some documentation as well. So that second session was really about developing a terms of reference, and then also a document that we've been able to give to researchers showing how the group wanted to be treated and involved in research. And then for myself, I just knew I had to come with a very open mind as well, and just kind of see where the group takes us as well, and try not to come with too fixed an idea as to what it might look like, because then it's not really keeping the principles of people as well. Do you have anything to add to that Joe, there, from what I've just said? Or?
No, I think you've actually captured it all in a nutshell, as to say. It's so interesting. It's very exciting. And it's something that I think, if it works, it will really, really benefit researchers, and it'll benefit the carers as well. It worked both ways.
Yeah,
I'm just delighted. I'm actually delighted. I'm privileged that you actually asked me would I be interested, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I'm delighted to have you on board, and hopefully some researchers will have you on their projects pretty soon as well, and kind of get some of that, of your expertise and all of that knowledge that you have there from your experience as a family carer, but also having an insight into the health service as well. That's all quite relevant, bringing your different hats into that role as well. Yeah. So just to kind of pull out something else then from the terms of reference, I won't kind of go into that because we will be publishing that on our website probably in the next week or so. I'll try to do it before the roundtable session on the 13th. So anybody that has any questions about it can ask us there. Joe, I'm not sure if you're definitely going to be there on the 13th, but hopefully you will be, to answer any questions and answers that people have. But one of the things that I think that really came out of that second discussion was, so we kind of talked about like the mechanisms for how we would work as a group. But one of the things that really came out were the values underpinning the group as well. And I had been at a workshop that UCD had organised, UCD PPI Ignite programme had organised earlier in the year, kind of before COVID came to Ireland. And that was the focus of that workshop was values at the pre-commencement stage of PPI. So before the researcher had their money to actually do the research process, what would happen in that kind of pre-stage when researchers wanted to start talking to, let's say, carers, for example. And I was really pleasantly surprised that many of the values that came up in that workshop also came up very organically in our meeting. So they were respect, and these are all in our terms of reference as well, respect, openness and transparency, reciprocity, that kind of idea of the sharing of power and a give and take between PPI partners and academics, and then flexibility as well. And like I said, these all came up very organically, and I'll give you an example of how respect came up. So one of the members, she was talking about what would happen when researchers started asking us for support. And let's say somebody came to us, and this happens quite a bit, that somebody might come in and say, I need PPI support for my grant application that's due in like 3 days' time. And typically there'll be a bit of a flurry of activity, and I will try my best to kind of support that grant application. But there was one of the members anyway had said that she thinks that we should have a month lead-in time, that anybody that should be contacting us, they should ideally be giving us at least 1 month. And it led to a bit of a discussion, because I felt like maybe we could potentially be missing out on really great opportunities as a result of kind of having a harsh 1 month kind of lead-in deadline. And that's in an ideal world, researchers would be contacting us with lots of time, but it's not the way things work all the time. And perhaps there's a bit of a culture change that's going to happen as PPI becomes more and more embedded in research. But at the reality at the moment isn't really that. And again, this was, I think, the real value of having these kind of sessions facilitated, because what really was at the heart of that was that the member of Fiona didn't want to, she thought it was disrespectful for a researcher to kind of come in and with 2 days beforehand and kind of ask for PPI support. So we were able to tease out that idea of respect and kind of that being our values in terms of how we want to be treated. And I know, Joe, we only talked about this after that second sessions, but I don't know if you want to kind of talk about any of those values as well, or respect.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know. I suppose one of the other things is, as I said to you when we were talking previous, was that, say, like, if there's not, how do you call it, not personality clash, but say if something is said where somebody picks it up the wrong way from either side, either the researcher or the person that's participating and getting involved and helping out. That rather they can talk about it rather than walk away and leave it just hanging where that time has been lost, the funding has been lost, and a lot of time and energy goes into what you're working on. So just that maybe even if there's, say, somebody that maybe the researcher can go to or that I can go to and say, well, look, this was said, but I'm not sure if I'm taking it out of context. Would you mind just listening to what happened? I'll tell you it. And then you're the arbitrator, so to speak, sitting on the outside thinking, well, now, Joe, I think maybe you might have taken that a bit personally, or I think you're right. But either way is that we could bring both of us back together, and we go back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
No, I think you're kind of touching on that thing about relationships being at the core as well of PPI, isn't it? That like,
yeah, it's just for me to be able to accept what somebody, it's kind of like, it's not the saying agree to disagree. It's like I can listen to what somebody else is saying to me and take it on board, but likewise that I can do the same with the researcher, that I try and explain also, and that the researcher can take it on board, and that not that there's a difference of opinion, but that we can actually, as you say, we said earlier, meet in the middle, find the common ground,
yeah,
and then work on. Not that that time was wasted and the researcher walks off going, well, that wasted X amount of time of my research, or I walk off saying, well, I could have been doing something.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I think it gets to that core of like the going back even to the values of like mutual respect being really
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah, that we're both listening to each other.
yeah, yeah, I think that's a really important example to bring up. And hopefully there won't be any tensions in any of the work that you're involved in. But it's nice to kind of have these conversations in advance, isn't it? To think through
Yeah, well,
what can happen.
it's just kind of like, this is so new for me, and I know it's new for you too, and I know this is your baby. And like the main thing is that we nurture it so as it grows properly, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we work it the right way, if we listen to each other, respect each other, if somebody has something to say, that we take it on board. We don't just shut it down and go, well, look, you know, that we actually see what we can do, work on from there. But I think that this has the potential to be absolutely fantastic. But it's just, we need to remember that everybody will have a different opinion, but it's to listen to the different opinion and just see, as you said, you teased it out at the meeting.
Yeah.
It wasn't lost.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't lost and you're able to drill down to find something kind of that common ground. Yeah. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
do it with respect.
And I know myself, I suppose the reason I'm saying it is I know myself. Sometimes I say things that don't come out exactly right, but I know what I'm trying to say. But if somebody gives me the chance, I will actually get it out.
Yeah. 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 But I think this is again, it's the thing about relationships being at the core, trust, respect, all of these things just being these values being at the core of the PPI relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
so
it's a learning curve.
yeah, learning curve for everyone because you know
Yeah.
that it's new to us. There are obviously a lot of researchers who are becoming more skilled at this and have a lot of experience,
Yeah.
but equally there's a lot of people who are new to it too. So
Yeah.
so hopefully these kind of conversations can help people. And hopefully we can have more discussions like this on the 13th. I have some more stuff that I kind of was thinking about discussing, but I think I'll just maybe leave it there and think about what might be next for us. In terms of the group, the plan is to expand our membership next year, and for me, I would hope some of that expansion would be focused on ensuring that we have more and more diversity within the panel as well.
Yeah.
Like in terms of age, in terms of gender. I know we had received seed funding from UCD Ignite for research with carers from the traveling community. So, you know, just have like a diverse kind of membership as well. And then we're going to be available. Well, I'm definitely going to be available. We'll see about Joe. Maybe some other members of the panel might be available on the 13th as well. So all that really remains there is to thank Joe for making some time today. She has had an exceptionally busy week. So thanks, Joe. And it's not easy when you're a newcomer to these things yeah, and I'd like to remind any researchers that are watching this to kind of get in touch with us as early as possible if you're planning PPI with family carers, because we have a fantastic group here. Joe, is there anything you want to add there before we end?
No, I think you've covered it all. As I suppose the only other word I would say, inclusion.
Inclusion, yeah, that's key, absolutely key. Yeah. Okay, Joe, so I'll end it there then, and we'll see all the viewers on the 13th of October. Take care.
Perfect.
Joe.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.